Today's session is, you can start your notes. Turning your idea into a paid product. Turning your idea into a paid product. Coach, what do you mean turn my idea into a paid product? So one of the things that I want us to do on this session today was turn those ideas that you have in your head and actually start building some momentum towards it. Momentum only happens when you're actually taking action, no matter how small the steps are. Right? So start off your notes with this. Baby steps are better than no steps. Baby steps are better than no steps. Because I know one of the questions that we have is that, well, I got the ideas. I kind of know what I want to help people with, and I know what my coaching program is and what I want to give them. But how do I make it real? Like, how do I get people to actually like use what I have? Right. So that's what today is that's what we're doing. One of the biggest things that I used to have the perfectionism syndrome, right? Where you feel like you got to have everything perfect and ready before you actually put yourself out there in the marketplace. And that's not true today, right? You don't have to have everything perfect. Actually, if you really want to get it to as close as perfect as possible, you can only get something perfect from engaging and getting your audience and your clientele involved in what you have. You can never make something great just in your mind, right? Think about it, right? Because who's going to have the say of whether it's great? The people who are joining what you have, right? Because they're actually experiencing the product or the service that you have, right? All right. So first things first. Let's bring you back to a present state of mind. Some of y'all seen this, some of y'all haven't, but let's make sure everybody's on the same page, right? So we're gonna focus on the triangle. So some of y'all know this is called the 6-figure formula. In terms of building a successful business online, coaching and speaking business online, put in the chat, what are the 3 sides of the triangle? Type inside of the chat, what are the 3 sides of the triangle that I'm getting ready to write? You need to know this because this is how you're going to build your business. A lot of us, we have goals to make $5,000 a month, $10,000 a month or more, right? So you need to know this formula, right? Structure. Yep, I see you, Missy. Thank you. Seduction and sales. Today, we're going to be focused on structure. That's what we focused on today. And specifically under structure, we really building part of our coaching program today. It's really what we're going to do. All right. So that's part of what we focus on as far as the goal. Each and every one of these sessions on Tuesday, we're going to be focused on different. So we really just going to rotate. We're going to rotate different ones until you master this. Because anything outside of this, you're doing too much. And it's going to be hard for you to grow. All right. So, So that's what we focused on today. Now, so this is page 7 of the playbook. This is where we really start to structure what we have. Now, there's a couple key things. I'm going to go through it, and then we actually going to pick one of these, and we're going to start working on it. So one is select the type of front end coaching program that you'll start with. Who's heard of the term front end, and who thinks they know what that means when you hear front end? What does that mean? What does that mean? What's your front end program? What does that mean? Anybody ever heard somebody say that before, or heard people mention things as their front end? Let me tell you. I'm gonna share with you what that means. If you don't know, front end means that what are you initially offering people when they come into your world? So you have a front end program, and then you have the back end, right? The back end is what do people get after they already introduced into the initial product or product or service. So some of us, if I was to ask, I'm not going to ask everybody right now, but I know some of us, we want to do one-on-one and we want to do group coaching, right? So some of us want to do both, which is cool. You can do both. But one of them is going to be your front end. So one of them is going to be the one that when you have a consultation or strategy call with somebody, that's going to be the one that you initially tell people about. And then when they come in, then they can level up. So for example, think about you coming into the PCS program. I didn't even talk to you about one-on-one. Did I? No. I talked to you about coming into this program, right? So once you in and you're making progress, then we could talk about if you qualified to work with me one-on-one. So my one-on-one is my back end and the group is the front end. Make sense? So so this is all in the playbook. So you don't got to make your decision right now if you're still not sure, but you just make sure that you fill this out in the playbook. How often do you want to meet? How often will you coach your clients? Daily, weekly, monthly? I recommend weekly if you're doing group, or 12 weeks if you're doing one-on-one. Duration is how long will your coaching sessions be? I recommend 60 minutes. And what additional resources will you include with your program? So this is going to be a key part of one of the things that we're going to do today. So let's just assume that you're finished with the playbook. At that point, all you have done is check things off, right? You might say, okay, I want to give people the recordings. I want to give people some worksheets. Oh, you know what? I want to give people a Facebook group. I want to give them an online course. So at this point, when you're done with the playbook, it's still long on paper. You haven't physically done anything yet, right? So we're going to go through these and then show you what it actually looks like to manifest this in a real world, like turn this into a real product. When you do your coaching program, you select at least 2. I would say start off with 2 and try not to go more than 2 initially, because I don't want you to feel like you got to create a ton of things before you actually start. So there's no reason why you can't, and I'm talking one-on-one or if you're doing group, doesn't matter. There's no reason why you can't take the replays and upload it to a Google Drive folder. And then inside of Google Drive, you can have whatever the name of your program is. And then if it's one-on-one, you can give each and every person, right? If it's one-on-one, there's no reason why you couldn't give each and every person their own folder inside of Google Drive with their name on it. And then now you send them the link to their folder. So now every time you get off of a Zoom call with them, if you're using Zoom, or it could be Google Hangouts, I don't care what you use, whatever you're using, if it's going to be on video or even if it's going to be just audio, then you take that recording and you upload it to their folder. And now that they got their folder bookmarked, they can always go back to get the replays automatically, right? They could just go in and get the replays. Now, it might not be automatic from your end unless you got some automation software, but we're not even getting there right now. We're just talking about that's where you're going to host your videos or host the replays. Does that make sense? That's what we're talking about when we say make it real. Is I'm offering people this. So that means that you got to go, if you got a Gmail account, that means that you got to go to your Gmail account and you got to actually create a folder, right? So that's the type of stuff I want us doing. All right, so that's that. Next thing, we get questions on worksheets. How do I create worksheets? Worksheets are not that hard. The whole goal of a worksheet, and if you look at the note right here, it says write out your top 3 questions for each of your 12 topics. Your 12 topics are, what are the top 12 things that is most important? We've all learned things in our industry, right? So the reason you coaching or what you coaching is because you've learned something in your domain, right? So what we focus on is 12 topics. 12 topics are the top 12 things that people need to know in order to succeed in your area. Why 12 topics? Because you're going to have a 12-week coaching program. And each and every week you train and you coach people on their individual problem, right? All a worksheet is allowing somebody to have homework to further evaluate and think about what you've trained them on that call. Because sometimes you're going to have coaching sessions where people are going to be in their car driving. They're going to be shopping out at they're going to be at the supermarket. They're going to be doing different things and they might not be able to take notes, or they might not be able to, because they got the kids around them. They got a ton of things happening. They might not be able to be as focused in their coaching session. You always want to encourage your clients to separate, close the door, lock the door, tell a husband or the wife to watch the kids. You want to try to get as focused as you can, or tell your clients to get as focused as you can in your coaching sessions. But if they can't, for whatever reason, you always have a backup that not, because people are, they sometimes they need to think about things, right? Like longer than just the one conversation you had. So if you have a worksheet with like 3 to 5 questions, they can actually go back and they can print it out, or they can write it out on a sheet of paper, and it helps them get a breakthrough. Sometimes people get breakthroughs not when they're talking to you, they get breakthroughs at night before they go to bed and they filling out your worksheets.